me just kind of get this all going and welcome everyone on the call. Technology is great, but it's somewhat complicated at times. All right,
Sure.
Very good. Well, welcome everyone. And let's see, is it 2 o'clock already? Yep, 2:01. So we'll get it started. My name is Annabelle Pacheco. I am a real estate broker. I've been licensed for 25 years and started my career in the mortgage industry. And from there went into the.
All right, we have to go one by one. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, let's mute. Can you guys please make sure you're mute? Yeah, thank you. All right, let's start over again. All right, very good. So as I was saying, I started in the mortgage industry and from there decided that I would become an investor and did rehabs and flips in the early 90s. So if any of you remember the early 90s, it was a great market. It was very nice. We had the luxury to say yes and no to the properties that we wanted to select. You know, I mean, there was just plenty of homes available at that time. And so we were working I'm from California. We were working the Compton, Linwood area, and it wasn't, you know, the most safest area, but it was definitely the most profitable area. And we were young enough and I guess like risk takers that we said, let's do it. So we did, and we did very well for many years. And then, you know, the market changed. There were less opportunities to come by, and we deviated from real estate completely, ventured out into the restaurant world and built a restaurant from ground up, served 150 people, full liquor license, entertainment. I mean, talk about, we went like full blown into the restaurant industry with partners that supposedly knew how to run the business and did not know how to run the business. Cost us a lot of money, you know, like we lost a ton of money. I mean, I'm sure this is going to sound familiar to many of you, right? Because these are just the life lessons that we go through. And make a long story short, that didn't work out. We got rid of our partners and had no other choice or alternative but to like make it work. We had put in a lot of money, and it wasn't as easy as rehabbing and flipping a home. It was very different. It took us 7-8 years to actually build this restaurant, create it, make it produce income so that we can turn around and sell it. So what was the I guess the moral of the story is that there's nothing as beautiful as real estate. I mean, like, restaurant is the most sacrificing. If anyone on this call has ever been involved in a restaurant, even just working as an employee of a restaurant, it's a very sacrificing job. And be ready to sacrifice your weekends, your holidays, everything, because those are the busiest days. The days that people are relaxing are the days that people want to go out and enjoy and have a good time. So making a long story short, it took us about 8 years. Okay, this guy is, let me get rid of this guy. I think he's being a dummy. Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second. We gotta
Belt over a suit is a bold choice.
How do I even get him off of my call? Let's see here. Remove?
Yeah, remove.
Remove. Okay.
That was interesting.
Oh gosh, that was dumb. Okay. Sorry for the that was dumb.
No worries.
Okay. So from that, you know, just really learned to appreciate real estate even more. You know, sometimes we complain that real estate's hard, but really everything in life is hard. And I was young, I was in my 30s, and I was trying to find the quick way of making, money. And the reality is there is no quick way of making money. It takes time to make money. And so went back into real estate. This time it was just full force representing buyers, sellers in the real estate market. But, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I've always invested. And as soon as I realized that, I needed to invest again, that's when I said, I made a goal to go out and get involved in multifamily, because this flipping of one house, two house is not easy either, right? It's like you're constantly turning. And I thought, okay, if I can do this on a larger scale, then I think I have another bozo coming on. Let me remove them before they get dumb. Hold on a second. Okay. Anyway, so just decided that, we're going to venture out into the multifamily world space, and had a 5-year goal to do that. And I had a mentor who had already invested out of state in Texas, and decided that was where I was going to go. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. He'd done it. He was successful at it. And I said, that's the area I'm going to go. And I just started to really just study the market and become familiar with the different areas. There's good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, okay neighborhoods. And so once you become familiar with that, then it's easy to look at properties when you're back home. And if you see something that pops up, that's, a good opportunity, then we'd fly out and go take a look at it. So we ventured out, purchased 34 doors in Grand Prairie, Texas. And that was an amazing opportunity. I mean, when you are talk about opportunity, when opportunity meets preparation, we were prepared. You know what? I had invested a lot of time in real estate, in investing, and just learning all of this.
I've got a question.
Oh my God.
What am I doing here?
But do me a favor.
Help me, Blondie.
Jason, what's your background?
This is crazy. I got him out. I don't know why I am being bombarded by these people. Anyway, sorry about that. So went in, 34 doors, and it was an awesome opportunity. All I can share with all of you that are on this call is that when you focus, I think I narrowed down my selection to, I wanted to be in Dallas, and I narrowed down to exactly what it was that I was looking for, and just focused on that. And that made such a big difference. I happened to just I was in Dallas, and I was constantly on my phone looking at property that pop up. And honestly, this property popped up on LoopNet, I think it was at that time.
Wow. And they say there's never deals on LoopNet. They say there's never deals on LoopNet. By the time it's LoopNet, it's not a deal anymore. So,
well, let me tell you, it was a deal. And what was the best part of this is that deal, the agent that had listed was the actual owner of the property. So he was a licensed real estate agent. I was a licensed real estate agent myself in California as a buyer. So we ended up working the deal together. I asked for seller finance. My mentor was like, I wouldn't ask for anything. I would just give them the cash, get out, get that property. It's a good deal. And I said, you know what? The worst that can happen, I mean, again, all these things that we go through in life are learning lessons, right? That you can then use for your benefit. And I'm like, I've always helped clients get credit from sellers. Why can't I do it for myself? The worst thing that can happen is, give me a second. I have another, this is crazy. The worst thing that can happen is pretty much they say no. And you know what? I went ahead and I asked, I'm like, hey, would you be willing to seller finance? And we agreed. He's like, yeah, sure. You know what? I'll do it. All I can say is that it worked out. I purchased this property back in 2015 for $850,000. 34 doors. That's amazing. And you know what? He gave me the opportunity. He seller financed, so I was able, that property was not producing. And we all know, if you have some idea of multifamily, you know, when you're going to go to the bank wants to make sure that property is producing, and the property is producing. Oh gosh, I'm being bombarded by these people.
I think it's the same person
How do
coming
I
back
do-
in.
I
I can't,
don't-
is there a way you can block them or anything?
Well, when he comes back in, I'll try, because he's just like,
Or can you set up to where like someone has to admit to come in?
they do have
And-
to admit to come in, but I'm not even seeing it pop up as an admit, maybe because I admitted him already. He's not, let's see if this time it works. That's weird.
It's just weird. I've never kicked anyone out, but I'm thinking maybe you can, but I've never tried it. I've never had to do it.
But it's not one person. It's a few of them that have actually come on the call. But anyway, all right, we're not going to let them
Mm.
deviate. So to make a long story short, you know what? I went through the full process of, like, the full cycle of the multifamily. I was able to get seller finance. I was able to go in there, fix the property. 2 years of fixing that property. We were able to refinance. The property had doubled in value, and I was able to pretty much get all my money back and have a performing asset continue. And I think we kept the property for about 7-8 years. Just sold recently when the market skyrocketed, and we're like, you know what, this is probably a good time to cash out and, you know, turn that into something else. And again, create. And what we want to do is duplicate or triple the capital. And that's what we did. So I'm a firm believer. I believe that multifamily is an awesome vehicle, right? For number one, capital, and for cash flow, a definite generational wealth. And it's not a get quick rich deal. And I think that's the misconception that people have out there, that they're going to buy multifamily and that they're going to become rich immediately. No, it takes time. Everything takes time. And as long as you're putting in, you know, the right work and you're doing what's right for that property, then you're going to see the returns. And so I want to kind of welcome our guest speakers, because I had been looking at, you know, their passion and their goal, and it's about taking care of, you know, people's hard-earned money, helping them invest in vehicles that can give them a nice cash flow and a nice retirement. And it's not a get rich quick deal here. You know, this takes time. And as long as you have that mindset that, okay, I'm going to invest my money, and I know it's going to take time, but I'm investing it with the right people, right? I'm aligning myself with people that maybe have the same goals and ideas that I do. I think that these two gentlemen that are on this call today as guest speakers really checked off those boxes for me. And I'd like to welcome them to the call. Jason and Jeffrey, welcome to the call. And, you know, maybe both of you, one at a time, just tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you guys got involved in multifamily.
I'll let
Sure.
Jason go first. I'm Jeff, by the way. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having us, Annabelle.
My pleasure.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for having us, Annabelle. So yeah, I love the message that Annabelle is trying to spread, multifamily as a vehicle for generational wealth, building wealth. My family, I started in real estate because I saw distant relatives becoming very successful with real estate. My direct lineage was not as successful. My great grandfather bought one apartment building in Chinatown, New York. You know, this must have been like 60 years ago or whatever. And that was the end of the line for us for so it was, I guess, 2 generations did not do anything with real estate investing after him, but we kept that property in the family. We still have it in the family. And so I was the first one since my great grandfather to jump back into real estate, seeing how well that the distant relatives did. So that's kind of what motivated me into getting into it. So the moment I had a job, when I actually right before I graduated college, when I got my full-time offer, I took my offer, went to the bank, and qualified for a mortgage, and that's how I bought my first property. Right a couple months before I graduated, actually. So that was how I jumped into real estate back in 2014. That was just a single unit condo in New York City that I was going to house hack. There was 3 bedrooms. I was gonna live in one of the bedrooms and rent out the other 2. That was what I was planning. Didn't work out that way, but it's all right because 5 years later I sold it, and so in 2019 I sold it and exchanged it into a 24 unit multifamily in Kansas City, Missouri. So that was my first step into the multifamily world. Yeah.
Wow.
So 1 unit going to 24. Annabelle, I think you're muted.
I said, that's great. And the point here is that it wasn't overnight either, right?
No, it wasn't. 5 years.
And I think, right. And that was the same for me. It was a 5-year plan that I had to go out and buy. And it took me about 7 to actually be able to sell. So it takes time. And I think that's the message we really want to get across is we don't want people to have this misconception that they're going to invest money in multifamily today and be rich next month or next year, right? It doesn't happen that way. But just know that you're aligning yourself with individuals that know what they're doing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's great that you say that too, Annabelle, because one of our core values here at Gen Plus is longevity. We initially started the firm to one, as immigrants, it was to retire our parents. So that's kind of where the generations part kind of comes in. And then we realized quickly that taking care of others' capital and kind of being responsible for that requires a sensibility and that tendency to be cautious, right? Because you're handling other people's funds, hard-earned dollars that are not easy to get for the average person. So longevity and stability have always kind of been a key part of what we do. And kind of going into real estate now in my own journey, that's really where I draw from, because my family actually didn't grow up buying real estate at all. So, I am the first generation of my family doing this. And my parents, obviously, they bought the house, they've worked jobs their whole lives, just W-2s, very steady lives. So when they first heard that I was doing this, it was very much but isn't the market crazy? Something interest rate, there's a whole lot of noise out there and a lot of fear. And coming from a scarcity mindset, it did take me a while to kind of make that leap. And it still is very much scary today. Every time Jason and I sign off on a deal or look into something new. But once you get past that onto the other side, it very much is very exciting, especially in multifamily. So bit of my background. I come from a finance background, met Jason in college, and we had worked on a few projects together, one of which was a restaurant actually at the time. So we have
so then you guys understand.
We have very similar stories, you and I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Jason was my financier and person who did all the administrative. I was the boots on the ground operating the restaurant, and it was just him and I, the dynamic duo at the time. Long hours, long stressed, a lot of thankless days.
Right.
And let's just say I'm much more glad to be in real estate now. So
I say the same thing. I'm like, even if they they gave it to me for free, I'd be like, no thanks. I'll go and I will contribute. I'll be a supporter of it, but I don't want to run it. It's a tough business. And I'm sure you guys also got this from it, is you really learn to appreciate real estate a lot more And when people complain that real estate is hard, they have no idea what hard is. Because I think unless you've been involved in running a restaurant, you don't know what hard is. You
And I
don't know
think
what
we
hard
all
is.
know how, how much of a headache sometimes property management can be, and, even just being a landlord can be, but that's nothing compared to having, like, let's say, a fire in the kitchen, or health inspectors coming by and your fridge is broken, and or
Worst
your
time.
employee never showed up to work,
Exactly.
Not that, not that these stories are in any way relevant to my own experience.
Right.
But
But you know what? But it's a good, I think, for us as individuals that are out investing in multifamily, and we're running a business, right?
right.
That has to do with multifamily, and we have this is in our background. It only makes us that much more valuable and that much more of a stronger partner to align with, because if we were successful, and I mean we were very successful with our restaurant. It took us 7 years to build and sell, but you know what? We pushed through. The perseverance is like, we are not going to lose all this money. It was not in our, yes, initially I was like, I don't want it. I'll just give it away. I'll walk away, right? I'll just deal with it. But then my husband was like, no way. Under any circumstances are we going to fail? We're just going to have to push through. And we did, and thank God we did, and we did well, and we made great connections. And I don't know about you guys, but I have clients from my restaurant that today, 15 years later or 20 years later, I'm still in contact with. So it's a great thing. It's a really good thing. So now tell me, where are you guys investing? What areas do you focus in?
So I'll let Jason dive a little more into our underwriting and kind of buy box. Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, so as an operator, as a landlord, I have property in Kansas City. That's where I've been since 2019, built up a boots on the ground team, maintenance team, and everything there. As a fund, so Gen Plus Capital is our fund. There we work with operators anywhere. We mainly vet the operator first, and then we vet the deal second, because ultimately a bad operator can break a good deal, and a good operator can turn around a bad deal. So for us, it's always the operator first.
Yeah.
So elaborate a little bit more on that, because explain the difference between a fund and explain it between like syndicating, right? Because I think anyone that's maybe watching this afterwards, like, what is the difference between the fund and the syndicating?
Yeah, for sure. There's so many ways you can invest in real estate. You can just own a property all by yourself as a sole operator. So I've done that before. That's how I got started. And then you can get into the syndication world, where you start pooling people's money and resources together to purchase and execute on a project deal, right? So I've been on that side of it as a GP, general partner / operator, raised capital from friends, family, colleagues, etc. And did really well with that, but of course a ton of work. And then that was when Jeff and I launched our fund, Gen Plus Capital, to start being on the LP side as an institutional investor.
Annabelle, I don't know about your particular viewer or demographic, but just to kind of cut things, I know these terms, especially for people newly entering the space, can get a little complex. So Jason's definitely the technical person here, but I've come into this as more of a newbie, so I can also give the fresh eyes kind of view to it too.
Give us the fresh eye view as well.
Yeah, so I guess from our standpoint, and just that there are two ways, right? You can kind of buy the property and you can run it yourself. And someone such as you, like a property can really turn from being, if you're savvy at it, if you're very good at getting your tenants to pay rent on time, if you maintain the property very well. And that's kind of direct ownership, or what we're talking about in the first case where Jason's talking about. Now, in the second case in our fund, what we're doing is really in cases where people don't have capital or don't have the finances to buy a property by themselves, they'll look to syndicate the deal or kind of split this initial capital raise amongst many different people. And that's where we come in as the fund. And the idea is that we kind of bridge that connection where people who have good projects and are savvy operators, such as yourself, they, have a dream and they have the plan and the wherewithal to see that happen. But the one thing that they're missing is capital, which is a huge lever. And us at Gen Plus Capital, we're hoping to bridge that by bringing in people who are also interested on being invested in real estate on the other end, but don't have the slightest clue or are just really getting into the world of real estate. And this is an easy entryway for them without having to be the boots on the ground, having to put a shovel in the dirt, or even just to build anything kind of new, but they still get to see that excitement of seeing like, hey, a property take off. Hey, wow, like I'm suddenly like seeing these increases in rents that now become split amongst everyone. So it's really fun and it's really exciting because you both get to see the rewards, but also not have to deal with a lot of that headache. So you get a lot of the sexiness without a lot of the pain.
Got it. Okay. I understand. So if I have a deal, I need capital. I need, let's say, I don't know, $20 million. You guys have this fund that is composed of, who knows, maybe 100 people, right? Or 200 people, all that. And then that fund would actually invest, if the project makes sense, would invest in this deal.
Absolutely.
Got it.
That's right.
And
Okay.
the process in which we screen, the people that come to us with these deals is just a process in which we call underwriting, which is just really a fancy term for saying, hey, Jason and I are going to look at this with our expertise, with the experience that we have, and just look at it. Does it match our values? And does it match what we want to target for the people that have entrusted us with their funds and, and experience?
Mhm. Fantastic. Okay. And you guys, I know that Jason says he's got boots on the grounds in Kansas City. Is that really where you guys are focusing on projects, or are you open to different areas?
Jason?
So we're open to everywhere. We did a deal in Dallas back in June. I'm from New York, but I currently live in LA. So I'm constantly looking at projects in New York and LA. And yeah, really all over. But as long as the operator fits our buy box, and the deal fits our buy box, we're willing to look at projects anywhere.
Yeah, I would say part of the brilliance also of the fund is the flexibility in not being geographically locked. We're really more
That's right.
locked into the quality of the deal itself. And since we're not as concerned with being able to scale operations or property management, that's all really handled on the operator side. We're able to really pull back out a little bit and look at it from a more holistic view rather than just on a deal by deal basis.
So what are you guys looking when you decide you're going to invest with a certain operator? What is that underwriting look like for you?
Yeah, so right now we're primarily looking to work with operators that have 25 plus years of experience. And typically these are family-run operations, multi-generation, and they'll typically have anywhere between 10 to 20% equity into their own deal. So if it's a $5 million raise, they will need to be putting in $1 million themselves. And a lot of it is recourse debt, so they're personally liable for the debt as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we're looking at for right now.
And when you guys are raising, because it's a fund, and do the investors have to be accredited or non-accredited? Does it matter? Is it different?
It does matter.
Elaborate on that? Okay.
So
elaborate.
yeah, we is a good question. And I forget to bring it up all the time, but we do have a 506c, which does require accredited investors only. That's it allows us to publicly general solicitation, right? Although we typically don't, it just gives us that flexibility. And then the main reason is that more so that we actually want to work with people who have the financial means to take that risk. We do not want to put someone in a bad position, and that's because that just goes along with our values of making sure we're making secure investments, making sure that people don't lose their pants when investing.
I think also the counterpoint to that is that just as we're vetting our operators and the people we choose to invest in, we also vet the people and the investors that choose to invest with. So the fund, there is a structure called a general partner, limited partner structure, but at the end of the day, we are partnering with people to invest their funds. And we want to ensure that the people that are investing with us are people that we see as ready for a real estate investment. We don't want to just take every kind of mom and pop off the street if they're going to be nervous about it, if they're not quite ready. So really a lot about our process, especially when we take in a potential new investor, is really assessing their needs, asking them really what they're getting into real estate for, and making sure that those are the right reasons.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of return? I mean, you don't have to be exact, but just kind of give an idea of what kind of a return someone would do if they invested in your fund would get.
I think we can throw some sample numbers off our
Just
most
throw
recent
some-
deals,
Yeah,
Jason.
you don't have
We
to
can
give me
probably give a
anything
range.
exact, but yeah, give us an
Yeah,
idea.
so the typical ones that we look for is like a 2x return in about 5 years. Although we've actually recently been favoring shorter term deals. These are typically new constructions build to sell, which are approximately 2-year projects that are more of like a 1.4, 1.3 to 1.4 times equity multiple, so to speak.
But yeah, to break it down in very simple terms, if you had put in 25,000 into our last deal, by the end of approximately, we say a 5-year exit. Of course, that's dependent on the market. It could be sooner, it could be later, but on an approximate 5-year projection, you would come back out with 50,000 and change.
So almost
That's
double.
right.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's very good. So I know you guys have shared some really great information. I'd like to ask anyone on this call, if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything that you guys want to ask these two superstars here that are available for us. Any questions? No. Everybody's got it. We're good.
Then suddenly the guy with the belt over his suit is not asking.
I know. Well, I think I got them all. Honestly, I think it was a couple of them. It wasn't just one guy. I think it was like 2 or 3 guys.
It's Halloween.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
The trolls are out to play.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Welcome to the call.
Hello, everybody. I do have one question. Was it hard setting up a fund, guys? Legal wise and everything else?
I would say
So-
honestly, yeah. All right, I'll let Jason take. Maybe we have different views. I'll let Jason speak first.
So there's many ways to do it, right? There's DIY and there's DFY, right? Do it yourself or done for you. You can always pay their syndication attorneys that specialize in putting these paperwork together for you. They'll charge a typical flat rate of like about $10,000 to get all the paperwork together. And then you can do it yourself, which you gotta be very careful. You gotta do all the SEC filings, and all the annual filings and things like that. So yeah, I've actually done it both ways. And it just depends on what your priorities are, whether if are you in a rush to put this deal together. If you're in a rush, then maybe it'll be worth it to pay someone to do it for you, versus if you've got time to put this deal together, then maybe you can do it yourself. depends on, your particular situation.
Personally, for me, I didn't find it particularly hard. I think the hardest part was probably not any of like the legal or the financing part. If anything, it was all the soft parts of running a business, like marketing or figuring out what our processes, operations are, what Jason would do, what I would do, like all the little things that come up. So I will say it's a nuanced answer. With starting a fund legally and all of that, that was probably the easiest part. All we had to do was sign and initial our names on DocuSign a few times. But
Yes.
the hard part was probably the stuff that came immediately after. Now that we are a fund, what does that come with, and what does that entail?
Right. Well, I mean, it makes sense, and I'm just speaking out loud here. Like, it makes sense to have a fund because you don't necessarily have a property. And I always get calls from clients saying, hey, I have some money. I'd like to give it to you. I'd like to invest. And again, I have not taken anybody's money. I've only invested my own money. Obviously, the reason why I do this weekly call is because I want to meet more people. And eventually, my goal would be to create my own fund, right? Have these people that know me, that trust me, that like me, okay, invest their money, put it in a fund so that I can go out and find deals and use that fund. So I love what you guys are doing. It kind of just registered for me, and I could see myself doing something like this. Like, I really like this. I think this is.
I think you'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I think this is really great. And I like the fact that I can. So do you pay your investors immediately? Do they make money immediately?
So it depends on how the deal is structured. Different kinds of deals will have different kind of payout structures. So let's say, for example, Jason's building a new house. He's like offering like the deal. This is just a hypothetical. Jason, the builder, is building a house, but this house isn't going to be completed for 16 months until we sell it, right? So at that point, the investors will get paid out when the house gets sold. But let's say for a different deal, somebody's like, hey, there's this great apartment building that's undervalued. I think I could buy in at this. And then so once he starts collecting rent from that apartment, all the investors in that apartment would start getting paid from rent. So it really just depends on how that money comes in, what kind of asset it is. That's one of the great parts about real estate. Like, everything is so different, and there's so many ways you can make money.
That's awesome. That's great. Now, let's see, I'm sure you guys have come across investors that they're constantly doing a ton of research. They're always asking questions.
Our favorites.
Right. And then there's those that never really pull the trigger. They're asking questions, they're investigating. I mean, I come across a lot of those too, and just never pull the trigger. What quality do you guys see in that investor that actually invests with you, that you could say, you know what, it's something, is it maybe are they entrepreneurial? Are they W-2 employees?
There's definitely
what do you see out there?
Yeah, for sure. I think, anyone that we talk to, they want to make money, right? That's, everyone wants to make money, but I think it's the risk tolerance and the risk appetite. And most of the people who pull the trigger, they typically do have some level of risk tolerance. And the people that you're talking about who ask a ton of questions and never do pull the trigger, they're typically not someone you'll find at the blackjack table either. So that's what I've noticed, at least.
Okay.
I think for me, personally, I was one of those people. I am very analytical by nature. I stare at the spreadsheets all day and I'll do all the research, but making that jump was very scary. And I think the more, what finally got me over that hump was really just the more knowledge that I gained, and the knowledge that I would lose out on more if I didn't invest. So I think when I come across those same objections in our potential investors, I'm able to recognize that very quickly. And you almost have to kind of guide them to that same conclusion themselves, because it's not something you can convince them of. It's an irrational fear, right? You can learn all the information, but at the same time, you can't convince someone to feel a certain way. So those are the kind of people that maybe we might not get them into the first deal, but we'll like float it. We'll kind of show them the track record. And, people are more sure to invest in like a winner that they've seen. It's like, hey, I've seen this horse win once, twice. Odds are he'll probably win again the third time. So those are the people, maybe you might not get them around the first time, but maybe the second or third. And I think real estate is a very patient game, like you had said. So it's definitely a part patience. And yeah, like Jason said, we try to match the deals that we do to our investors' risk appetite too.
That's great. And are you guys currently purchasing right now in this market?
We're currently
are
working on a
definitely still
deal.
doing deals. Yeah, we're still doing deals. Always doing deals.
You are,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
As your underwriting, I mean, I guess it's a little different, but are you guys taking, just the changes in our market into consideration now when investing or putting this fund into a property? How has that underwriting changed for you guys?
Yeah. So prior, of course, me as an operator, I've typically done value add multifamily. And when we first launched the fund, we also did value add multifamily. Where we started changing recently is, of course, interest rates right now are higher than cap rates. And it makes deals harder to pencil in the value add multifamily game. And recently we've been looking at more new development projects because they're, the deal that we're actively working on right now is actually build to sell. And so when you're selling it to an end buyer, the economics of the deal work out very differently than the typical value add strategy.
Got it. Okay.
A lot of the factors that we've also seen is just the standard of operation and what we would consider a good operation and a good business plan has really gotten higher. Maybe a year or two ago, Jason and I would have taken a look at a deal and we would have said yes right away. But now we take a look at how are they managing their debt structure, right? How is the stack working out? And, how risky is that? A lot of that is sensitivity analysis. Hey, I'm not looking, I know where the rate's at right now, but let's build in like a point or two even higher, like a buffer. Like, are these guys doing a rate cap? Or is there a rate floor? Or is it floating? Like, how are they structuring all this? And a lot of that is really what separates the savvy investors and the savvy operators from your normal ones, the ones that now you really got to pull all the tools from the bucket. Before, maybe you had like one Phillips screwdriver and it worked all the time, right? Regular debt, you refi out, 2-3 years,
Like
bread and butter.
when I bought, it was perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But now you might need a few different tools out of the toolbox. You might need the hammer, you might need the wrench, like you got to pull everything out and figure it out and get creative.
I love it. That's a great analogy. That's wonderful. Chris Johnson, you have a question.
Yeah, I had a question. So being and as part of like investing and wholesaling, I come across apartment complexes that I usually go direct to owner. A lot of them have mom and pop owners, haven't raised the rents in quite some time. So you see a lot of add value potential, things like that. Considering that you guys are mainly looking in Kansas City and at your buy box criteria, I'm pretty sure is something real specific. Do you guys take inquiries like that? Like properties where, hey, I have something under contract and I'd like to send it to you guys for you guys to take a look at it and see if you can force appreciation and raise the value of it, hold it for 2 or 3 years or what have you. Would you guys be open to taking a look at options like that, stuff like that?
So as a fund, probably not, because
Okay.
the fund is not an operator. The fund is an investor, and we partner with operators.
But I'd be interested as an operator.
Right, exactly.
I'd be interested as an operator, and then I can figure out either with the gentleman here, right, if they want to use or
Exactly.
come together.
So you got to look for local operators in that market, right? Who's maybe talk to property managers and, hey, do you have any clients that might be interested in this deal? Because they're the ones working directly with operators all the time, or general contractors, right?
Got it.
And so, if you send me a deal and it's in X market, I could potentially go to a list of operators that I know that are in that market and say,
Right.
would you be interested in operating this deal? If you are, we could potentially invest in that deal with you. But we are not operators at Gen Plus Capital. We partner with the operators.
That being
Okay.
said, if you want to send something over and it's interesting, I feel like you can always find an operator for it. So like Jason said, maybe not by direct, but through indirect,
Right.
there's definitely ways we
Exactly.
can work together.
Yeah,
and
that
build
was
out. Yeah.
more of my idea. That's what I was thinking of. Like, hey, because I know you guys are obviously talking with nothing but operators because they're looking to get funded. So
Yeah.
it would make maybe more sense to kind of go through you guys, because you guys are looking at all the operators, just saying, hey, this looks like maybe a good potential deal. Check it out. If you like it, we can, there's something we can fund. So I thought maybe I should have been more specific, like doing it that way. To you guys,
Gotcha.
making through your
Yeah.
operators.
So if you
That
send
would be an
something
interesting one, right?
away-
If we had to find an operator to find where it would land, Jason.
Hey,
That's a
an
very interesting way of
opportunity.
going about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
But hey,
have all the operators.
beautiful,
It
yeah.
just makes more sense. I mean, you give it to an operator. They look at it. Hey, I like it. Where the first thing they're going to do is look at funding. It's kind of like a setup to just go straight through you,
Right.
and then it's like a triple win situation.
Where
So,
where do you come across properties? What area?
I'm working my own backyard here in Los Angeles.
That's my
And then-
backyard.
Los Angeles, okay.
Send it over.
yeah,
Are
yeah.
you guys from LA, or Jeff, do you live in LA as well?
I am from New York, so I'm from a time when Jason was still living in New York, and then he abandoned me for the West Coast and sunny skies.
Okay, because I'm in California, or I'm in LA. I know Chris is in LA. Chris is I don't know who else is on this call. Oh, there's a few other people, but okay, that's good. So we're all in the area. Well, have you come across any opportunities in the LA area? Because I can't seem to find anything that even pencils out.
Well, I have a very strategic way of going about finding properties. So, I use like a a company called PropStream. And I pull sometimes like pre-foreclosure list. I'm looking at utility liens, stuff like that. I look for problematic properties, and I target specifically between like 5 and 40 units. That's usually owned by like a direct owner. Doesn't have a whole bunch of LLCs on it, and I can skip trace them and talk directly to them. So that's kind of like how I work my deals. I just never really look on LoopNet or look where everyone else looks. I kind of look for code violation and stuff like that, like just something more specific, Class BC neighborhoods and stuff like that. So that's kind of like how I find deals.
Well, I put my name, my email, my phone number on the chat. Save
Okay.
it. And feel free to reach out to me, because I definitely would be interested, and I have the funds. Like we could do it. Like we can do it.
Okay.
Okay. And if I
Making it happen
can't
right
do
here
it,
on this call.
and if I
being there.
can't do it, believe me, I'll reach out to people that have it, and we'll make it happen. So I'm definitely interested. So if you're doing all that work, absolutely, let's talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. So, all right. So I guess, let's see here. What do you guys, let's see, what do you guys think moving forward? I don't know. I just lost my train of thought here, but
Can I ask a question?
go for it, Chris.
Hey, how do you guys get new investors to the fund?
There you go. That's a great question.
Yeah, so definitely start, I think, same as with realtors, start with your sphere of influence, right? Friends, family, colleagues. That's where we first started. And then it spreads from there. There are referrals when we've had multiple successful exits. When you start building up a good track record, people start sharing your. Did you have something to say, Annabelle, or?
I remember what my question was gonna be. Go ahead, finish what you were doing.
Okay. Yeah, so there's that. And then we recently started being more active on social media. We built out a website. There's always going to be that funnel that people can always set up a call with us, learn more about what we're doing. That's pretty much where we go to a ton of networking events, ton of conferences. That's typically what we're doing right now to look for investors.
So I'm gonna ask you a hard question. Have you guys ever lost any money for any investors?
No, the answer
Not
is
yet.
no.
The answer
Okay.
is no,
No.
but also not yet. So
Yeah, that's
There we
true.
go.
It could always happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually going to say that for my very first deal, my condo, I had a bad tenant in there, and it was in New York City with a very long eviction process, right? So I was in the red for a very, very long time. It took 6 months for us to get to court. When we got to court, the tenant ended up paying everything he owed in arrears, and he said, "Hey, I'll pay you another 6 months." So he basically paid an entire year's of rent, somewhere like that, right? And to dismiss the eviction and let him stay, and I let him, right? And then when that money ran out that he paid me in advance, the same thing happened again. I had to go to court with him a second time, and at the end of all that, he paid me again. Second time we went to court, he paid everything he owed again.
Did
And
he ask you
after
for
that, that
another
was when I
stay?
decided to sell. I do, yeah. But I mean, at that point, that was like when I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. Having a single unit. That's when one unit is vacant, I had 100% vacancy. And then that's when I decided to go into multifamily. So hey, one vacancy, it'll be a much smaller percent vacancy. And then so during that period of time, I was losing money. I was digging into savings to keep that property afloat. But ultimately, at the end of it, when I did sell it, I was
You were-
made my money. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I think if we're all investors, we've all at some point have been through that. I mean,
Right.
it can't always be perfect. I mean, I know we had deals like that too, where, man, I don't even want to remember, but it's happened not once, it's happened a couple of times, right? Because you think you're trying to be genuine, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm being transparent, cool, no problem, I'm gonna let you, and then they don't perform, right? And then it's
Mhm.
like kind of going through the whole process. But yeah, when you have one property and one tenant, it hurts a lot. When you
Yes, it hurt
have
a lot.
multiple doors and one or two or three or four tenants don't pay, it doesn't hurt as much. That's
Right.
what I love about multifamily, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's the scale.
Um,
Yeah. The damage is spread, but also
Right.
the rent scales too. So it's great.
What hurt more was that it was a 15-year mortgage and not a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
that hurts. That hurts.
Yes.
All right. Now, do you guys read books? Any good books, any good books that you guys can share with people out there that are looking to get involved in multifamily that maybe made a difference for you guys?
I think that's the one that many people mention, of course, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's more of a mindset thing rather than a real estate thing. I don't think I really in terms of real estate, I think the long distance real estate investing, I think that might have been by David Green. I live in LA. My properties are in Kansas City. I don't think I got my systems quite as well as he has it, but I've made it work.
What was the
But
name of the book again?
long distance real estate investing,
Okay. By who?
by David Green.
Okay. Oh, that's
For
good.
me, it's
Um,
Multifamily Millionaire by Brandon Turner. Classic. I'm a bigger pockets nerd, so
I
that's
was about to
really
say he's
where I
on
got
bigger.
started.
I was about to say he's on bigger pockets, Brandon Turner. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does
Exactly,
he does
yeah.
a lot of deals like for what do you call it? Just lost it right now.
He does open door capital.
Yeah.
So he also has a syndication business now.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And he does mobile home investing too. Like he'll buy like
Mobile
big
homes,
mobile
yeah,
home
that
parks.
is, yeah.
Has
Yeah.
anyone gotten involved in mobile home parks?
I've heard mixed things where like if you're really good at operating them, it works out really well, but they're so esoteric that like you really need someone who knows that land like the back, like the back of his hand or something. But yeah, very much an operationally based thing. But if
It
you
is
can make it
very
work, you can
heavy
make it
out on the
work, yeah.
operations side.
Chris DeSalle, how about you?
Yeah. No, I haven't, but I've looked at several and they are very, very, like they were saying, operational heavy, and you're dealing with a different class of resident and client. So you got to know that going in. So
Very interesting.
Hmm.
Unless you own that mobile home park that's in Malibu. I heard that one's really easy to manage.
there's some in San Diego that are literally like in the bay in San Diego. They're like $500,000 for the pod.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, now that's a different kind of client.
Class A mobile home park.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so very much. I hope this is not your first time on our call. I hope you come back and share other projects and, let us know how things have turned out for you guys. I love what you're doing and keep it up. And, I will definitely be in contact with you guys. And thank you very much for joining us today on our call. And
Been a pleasure
everybody
meeting you
else-
all.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having
thank
us.
you so much, Annabelle. Terrific.
Yes, my
Yeah,
pleasure.
great
Good
meeting
job.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks everyone. And again, we meet every Wednesday. It's 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're on this call. It does get recorded and I try to do my best to put it up on YouTube so that everybody can kind of go back to it. But feel free to come back whenever you guys want. If there's anything you want to present or share with others, just feel free to come back.
I expect all the bells and whistles, Annabelle. Make me look good on YouTube.
I will. I will. Thank you guys.
Take care, guys. Take
Have a
care.
great
Bye.
day. Bye.
Bye, Annabelle. I'll reach out to you soon too.
Perfect. Sounds good. Take care.
Okay.